Too many people wait until they are really, really sick before they call a doctor. And I do not want you to be one of those people. So today's guest is the sales doctor, Marvin Montgomery. At a young age, my dad told me that no matter what you do in life, you're going to need to be a salesperson. You're going to need to sell yourself to get the job. Once you have a job, if it's maybe you're an engineer, you need to sell the project. You need to do all sorts of these things. So if you want to get better at something that's going to have a big effect on a lot of places in your life, stay tuned. Thanks for coming on, Marvin. I really appreciate it. You've worked with hundreds of organizations. What is the number one thing most salespeople miss?
I was just talking about that before I walked in with a gentleman. The one thing that is probably the hardest thing for not just salespeople, but people is just active listening. We think we're listening, but we're not, which means we miss important information that the customer is trying to say to us. Because what they do, Josh, is they give us sound bites. You know, remember the sound bite we hear all the time on the personal side? I don't feel well today. Well, we do good with that one. We're an active listener with that one because we'll lean in and go, oh my God, Josh, what's the matter? That's really listening. It's showing concern, right? You're not going to go, oh my God, someone called 911. Hey, do we have defibrillators here? Hey, does anybody know? Right? We're not going to react. We're not going to assume. We're really going to drill down on the, initial statement, because I call it sound bites. We're going to drill down on that sound bite until we get the information we need to provide a customized solution. But the problem is getting people past that fix-it mentality. As soon as you say something, let me fix that for you.
I love it. It's funny because as we consult with some podcast hosts, I talk to a lot of them about that because I'm like, you're the host. I've had you on because you're an expert. Why am I going to talk over you? I want to hear, I had you here because I'd like to hear from you.
Yes. Yes. So that's the main thing, is getting people to understand that selling is not telling. True selling is asking questions and listening, but getting people to get past their initial reaction of reacting to what people say instead of taking time to respond to what people say.
That makes perfect sense. And I see this everywhere, every day, all the time. When in the intro I said we're going to help a lot of places in life. Yes, I agree. You've mentioned that, like, early in your experience, in your career, you were at a company that prioritized training and they taught you not practicing on customers.
Yeah.
You've talked a lot about like role playing as a way to practice sales skills. I'm someone that has a difficult time sometimes with role playing. So what are some tips that you can give someone to like make that more realistic and to bring some of those things up ahead of time?
Well, the key thing is to use what I refer to as preparation before your practice. So I want to give you the answers and then let you practice the answers. Role playing, I think, sometimes is viewed on, oh my God, they're going to put me on the spot, and I hope I can get through this without looking like an idiot, right? But the preparation before the practice, it's almost like, remember in school, they would give us the spelling test, up until I forget what grade, but they'd give us the answers on Monday when you really think about it.
Yeah, no, they would.
I mean, those were the answers. And all we had to do was practice them. They'd actually give you a little trial test on Wednesday. So any ones that you missed, you could make some corrections. So on Friday, there was no reason not to get an A. Well, it's the same thing. Why would you get out there in front of a customer and not be prepared for anything that may come up during this discussion? I can't give you a little slip of paper and go, hey, look, before we start the sale call, don't ask me about, please don't say the price is too high. I have no idea how to handle that. And I give discounts every time that comes up. Preparation. I wrote a sales tip. I think you know I do those sales tips every Monday. So I wrote a sales tip about a year and a half ago. It was titled, Preparation Prevents Perspiration.
I love that.
Just be prepared, So the best way to actually practice and not role play, the best way to practice is come up with a realistic scenario. How should I respond to that scenario? Go over different ways to respond to it and then practice that response. Because think about it. How do we get better at anything?
Practice.
Yeah.
But if you, and that 100% makes sense. If you haven't been shown how to do it correctly the first time, all the practice in the world, if you're practicing wrong or you're practicing something random, isn't going to make any sense.
Yeah.
So if you prepare for that makes a world more of sense to me then. So it is that pricing objective or price objection or I got to talk to my boss.
Postponement objection. Well, let me think about it. Yeah. Or sometimes it's competitive. If you're in a very highly competitive industry, I'm going to get 3 or 4 quotes. I'm just not going to go off of what you told me. So I'm going somewhere and I might say to you, you know what? Hey, thanks for coming out today, Josh. I'm going to get a couple more estimates. What? What do I do? What do I do now?
That's when the sweat comes in. When they see the sweat stains.
If you haven't prepared, because it's going to come up.
Yeah.
So are you prepared for what's going to come up during this discussion? And one of the things I heard a while back, the person said to me, don't practice until you get it right. Practice until you won't get it wrong. Because I think sometimes we don't practice enough.
Sure.
Because there's a muscle memory there of how you would normally react or respond to that. How do I get past that so I don't let my emotions control what my mouth is going to say next?
It's funny, that brings almost like a basketball analogy to me. You saw like Kobe Bryant, people like that. They could sink a basket, but they would still sit there like Steph Curry for hours after practice
at a time
and just sinking baskets. They know how to do this.
Till it becomes automatic.
Yep. Until they they have to try to screw it up.
That's right. That's right. So let's practice, not till you get it right, but let's practice until you won't get it wrong. Because there's a lot at stake.
Sure.
This is my livelihood. I'm in sales. I messed this up. I don't eat tonight. I'm out.
How does someone know when they've started to reach that point? I mean, because it's tough to be like, okay, when do I start to? Is there a light that comes on? I mean, like right now, my check engine light's on. Is there something? When will someone know that they're at that point where this is going to be tough to mess up?
I think what happens is, going back to this whole thing around practice, when you're practicing with a partner. That partner is also giving you feedback.
Okay.
So now I'm going, after the practice is over, you may say to me, hey, Marvin, you got it, man. You didn't stumble. You didn't do. So that's what it's like the spelling test, right? You either get them all right or you got a red mark.
And you got to go back and look. Yeah. And it makes sense too, because
plus it's being recorded. So you can record yourself.
Oh,
and watch yourself now. You can go back and watch that practice session.
Pretty easy with a cell phone now.
Pretty easy with the cell phone. Tablet. Yeah.
It's interesting too, because with that too, the other thing is I see so many role-playing scenarios set up as almost adversarial. Whereas this, it is like, hey, I'm here to work with you instead of like, I'm here to make you better instead of to make you feel like you're an idiot salesman.
You are spot on with that, because the level of intensity of that particular practice should really fit where you're at right now. So once you master that, then I kick it up a notch, then another notch, then another notch, right? So you continue to what? Grow and get better.
Yeah.
But this is not an adversarial, let me see if I can trick Josh. I'm going to get him this time. let me throw. No, I'm letting you know today we're going to practice on how to overcome the price objection. Let's talk about that. Let's come up with some ways to respond to it, and then we'll practice it. So I'm not saying to myself, okay, I'm gonna hit Josh with this with this price objection. I'm gonna catch him off guard. Watch, he's gonna squirm and he's gonna sweat. Yeah, that's the typical old role playing model. No, I want you. I don't want you to fear this practice. I want you to actually say, "Hey, Marvin, can you practice with me today?"
Sure, makes sense.
Because I want to get better.
Same team.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. So you have a book, and thank you for this copy.
Oh,
I
you're
really
welcome.
Appreciate that. Training Wheels.
Yes.
I love the title. Absolutely love that.
Look on the back, by the way.
Let's see here. Oh, yes. Oh, you have the picture of you
and Junior.
I was about to say, is that Junior?
That's Junior.
And that is, I love the bicycle. I love the whole 9 yards. That is very, very cool that you did that. With that, I mean, to me, there's the parallels between learning how to ride a bike. I did start with Training Wheels. I ate a lot of dirt. I was very much you're going to learn how to ride or you're not.
Or you're not. Right.
So get out there, kid. The analogy, where'd that come from? How did you come up with that?
It actually came from my time with J.B. Robinson Jewelers.
Okay.
You were not going out on that sales floor until you had the ability to overcome some of the basic fundamental things that are going to be thrown at you during that call. So there was a regiment of preparation and practice. And back then, you weren't recorded. If you were, it was this great big old massive thing that they would use.
It was not a cell phone.
So it was really just a lot of practice, we would practice in between customers. We'd practice in the morning before the store opened up. We'd practice a situation that didn't go well after the customer left. I mean, it was all about practice. I mean, I grew up in an organization that spent a lot of time preparing and practicing what you're going to do when the store opened up.
That's amazing. That truly is.
So that's where I got my foundation for this. And then I started thinking about what my next book was going to sound or look like. And I started thinking about this whole idea of how companies, if they would spend some time preparing and practicing their people, no different than what you would do teaching a child how to ride a bike. And I remember I took that picture, or somebody I didn't take the picture, but I remember somebody took a picture of me training Junior how to ride a bike for the first time. And it's the same thing. And you just gave an example because there's two ways to train somebody, right? You either go, here's your bike.
Right.
Have at it, right?
Good luck, kid.
I hope you don't break too many things or scar yourself too much before you actually learn, right?
Right.
And that's called learn by doing.
Right.
Or you can do what I did with Junior, and you have one hand on the handlebar, one hand on the seat, and you're encouraging him and talking to him and watching him. As a matter of fact, in the book, I have an example because I remember him laughing at me because I got on the bike first. Right? And my knees are hitting the.
I was just about to say, it kind of looked like the clown riding across the surface.
Yeah, look like a clown, right? And he's laughing at me, but I wanted to demonstrate to him how easy it is. And that's the thing we kind of didn't talk about is before I ask you to practice, I'm going to demonstrate that's part of the preparation is me demonstrating how to overcome that price objection, how to overcome postponement, how to overcome competition. Because you may be sitting there thinking, oh, easy for you to say.
Right.
you want me to do this. Can you?
Right. No, for sure.
Right? So it's demonstrating it too.
Yeah. I see it all the time. It's interesting how that crosses over in just so many areas. Plus, for me, like I am a visual learner.
Okay.
If I see you ride a bike and you're explaining how to ride the bike, I'm going to be like, oh, I can ride the bike.
Got it.
You give me an instruction manual and I'm going to look at it like a space alien just landed in front of me.
Oh, yeah. Same thing. I'm the same way. We're both on the same page with that
one. What are a couple of training wheels that I know the practice? Let's say someone's at home what's a training wheel that they can use to practice that before they go out and get in front of a customer?
I think it's really simple. It's identifying. It's that self-awareness. It's identifying areas that I know that I'm going to struggle in on this call. And maybe it's not objections for you. Maybe it's I do a training whole series on mastering the sales essentials. So you want to practice areas that you feel that you're not good at. Maybe it's I call it doing the verbal agenda, because a lot of times you just want to jump right into the sale.
Here's the pitch.
Yeah. Opposed to saying, hey, Josh, let me share with you what the next 15, 20 minutes is going to look like. Very similar what you did with me today. You really laid out the whole thing before we actually did it, right? Well, why not do that with a customer? Because first of all, let's face it, Josh, do salespeople have a good reputation?
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say no.
I mean, we're on the same level as maybe attorneys, and I mean we're low. We're low on that totem pole, right? We're not thought very highly, especially if you're coming into my home or business to sell me something that busted or crashed or whatever unexpectedly.
Sure.
So now I'm mad because I got to spend money.
Yep.
And I got to spend money with someone I don't even know who's probably trying to trick me and sell me something that I really don't need, because I really don't know too much about this product or service we're talking about. So how do I build that know, like, and trust? So a lot of my practicing, or a lot of that person's practicing, should be around, am I building the know, like, and trust? I'm working with a company right now on 8 areas that you have to build that know, like, and trust, and should be practicing. One is, how prepared are you? We talked a little about this already today. How prepared are you for that meeting? Did you go on LinkedIn to look their name up? Did you research their company? Did you find some kind of connection so when you first meet with them, you have a rapport builder already prepared because you found out you went to the same this or you know the same that? Or so first one is, that going back to that preparation, what kind of preparation did you do prior to the call? Second one is, did you have an opportunity to call them to let you know or to confirm that appointment? So what does that sound like? Is it just robotic? Because
is this an answering service?
Yeah, because that's a great opportunity to make a what? Good first impression.
Sure.
Then you get to the door or their office. What does that look like? What does that sound like? Did you engage them in a conversation? Did your face look pleasant and professional, and as well as you yourself? So we talk about what goes into that and preparing for that. Do you need to practice like I said, that verbal agenda, that leads into that needs assessment, which needs to be practiced too, because a lot of times we forget. It's like going to a doctor's office. You go to the doctor's office, they don't tell you anything about the, think about this, it's kind of scary. They don't tell you anything about the doctor.
No. There's random person.
Can you imagine walking in, she slides that thing back and go, oh, Marvin, hey, sit down. Let me tell you about the doctor that's going to see you today. Do you know he graduated from, no,
yeah.
You don't even know if he is or her or she is a real doctor.
Right.
You're just trusting that they are.
Right. They got a white lab coat on and a stethoscope. That's what I see in the movies.
Anybody can come out. Because it's all about what? They're examining you. It's not about them. It's about you.
Yeah.
So that's a practice topic, a preparation and practice topic, knowing what to ask. Okay.
Love it.
Yeah. And then, like you said, overcoming objections and closing the sale and following up and reaffirming. There's so many different areas that people need to really
just break it down into those pieces.
Break it down to pieces. Yeah. Because you don't want to practice the whole sale.
Okay.
You want to practice ingredients of that sale, because the whole sale is too much.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. I see a lot of business owners that when they get busy, they're like, hey, I don't have time to sell. Then when they hit the sales hard, then all those sales come in, or when they're busy, they don't have time to sell. So sales die off.
Yeah.
Then they go out and sell like a madman.
Yeah.
Then there's that vicious cycle. What's the way to find that balance in there? Do you tell people to look, you just need to schedule time?
Yeah, you have to make time. for those opportunities. Because if you're a small business, and Josh, you and I know about small businesses because that's what we do with Cozy, right? And the problem is you're wearing not only the production hat, you're wearing the sales hat, you're wearing the accounting hat, you're wearing the, I got to go out to this Cozy networking event hat.
Yes,
Right?
we do.
And by the way, I got to have the sales hat on somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So you have to make time to go out and, make yourself available to get new opportunities.
It's just got to go on the calendar.
It's like what you said. It's a vicious cycle. Or like we talked about at the Cozy Summit, we talked about the importance of, is it time to hire a salesperson?
Right.
Because maybe that's really not your forte anyhow, because maybe you're avoiding it. That's why it's not happening.
That is an excellent segue into my next thing. So I was listening to another podcast today, and the guest was talking. He basically said success in sales directly correlates with the person's ability to eat rejection for breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
Do you find that some of the case?
Yeah. I tell people, if anybody asks you, what do you do all day? Oh, I get rejected. Right? The average close rate is somewhere around 35, 40%. I mean, if you get up there in your 50s, that's pretty doggone good. But that means, even if you're at 50, that means 50% of the time you're what? It's like being a batter. Yeah. It's like being in baseball.
Yeah.
You can think about it. You can actually have an average of 210, 250 and get paid a lot of money. But think about it.
Yeah.
You're only getting on base 20% of the time.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It's tough odds to go out there and to realize that, okay, this rejection does not mean that the next one's going to be a rejection.
Yeah.
Are there some tools that you tell people that, like, look, we know you just got handed a poop sandwich.
Yeah.
How do you eat that and move along to the next place without showing them, hey, I just had a poop sandwich down the road. How can I? Yeah.
Yeah. One of the first things I always talk about, whether I'm coaching or I'm doing a seminar, I always talk about attitude is everything. You have to have a strong resolve. I was listening to a coach doing a news conference, and he was saying, man, you guys are on a 14-game losing streak. He said, it was 14 games? Because you got to forget about what happened. You have to have a short memory. I had a salesman tell me, he says, I look at it as it's a mental marathon. And if you don't have that mental toughness, sales is not for the weak at heart.
Sure.
Because and by the way, this rejection comes in strings. I mean, it's not just like here and there. And, no. You could go out five opportunities and go 0 for 5.
Yeah.
But then you can go back out again and go 5 and 0.
Yeah, it's funny because you're right, because there's times where you go out and you're like, I'm invincible. And then you go out the next day and you're like, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, and you're the same person. But the challenge is it's a different situation, right? So yeah, to answer your question, there's got to be a mental toughness there. You cannot let the last situation, whether you made it or didn't make it, affect how you're going to handle the next one coming to you.
Makes sense.
That's why that preparation and practice is so important, to stay sharp, to stay fresh.
Sure. It's funny. A lot of the stuff that you're saying is very, it held true years ago. It holds true today. Are there any pieces of sales that you see that are like where fundamentals are changing?
Yeah. I think the technology era that we live in now, it really makes it tougher for salespeople to be as effective as they were in the past. Okay. So, you have to really be tenacious. You can't just give up. I'm working with a group right now because they have a low close rate on the first time in because it's a very competitive industry, but they're very bad at follow-up. Actually, I titled the training, don't use the F word. Because when they would follow up, they would say, hey, Josh, this is Marvin. I'm just following up
Oh, gosh, no.
to see if you had a chance to talk to your wife yet. I'm going, no, you're not following up to see if they talk to their wife.
No. As soon as I see follow in an email, I'm like, I'm out.
You're calling back to get them on the schedule. You're calling back to get this thing moving. You have to have a positive, assumptive mindset even before you make the call. I'm not calling the follow-up. I'm calling to get this thing closed out so we can get this thing moving forward.
Oh, I love that. Absolutely.
I think the biggest change is our ability to get a hold of people. I think people's patience is not like it kind of used to be.
Sure.
They can avoid us, even if you're trying to get somebody initially, right? So we have to be a lot more creative
Sure.
in how we go about getting that first opportunity.
That makes sense. This is one that I've been really excited to ask you. I think we may have touched on it a little bit. What are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about the sales profession as a whole?
From a customer standpoint or from someone who's in
John Q. Public.
Oh, yeah. John Q. Public really thinks it's something that they have to get involved in. They'd rather have a root canal than deal with a salesperson, because and I think it goes back to one of the first questions you asked me. No one wants to spend time with someone that all they do is tell and sell.
Right.
So you cannot come across salesy. This should just be two people. That's why, let me go back to that one thing that you need to have down pat, which is that verbal agenda. See, that verbal agenda gives me an opportunity for you to go, oh man, that's great. I thought you were coming here to sell me something. In other words, I have an opportunity now to put your mind at ease.
Yeah.
And let them know that, look, the goal of this meeting is to see if there's a need for the product or service that I'm providing. And to determine that, there's a couple questions I'm going to ask you, Josh. And your answers you give me will let me know whether or not we're going to have an opportunity to work together today.
I love that. So, and that it's funny with that agenda too. It shows that, hey, there's a structure to this.
Oh.
I'm not just going to put you in the corner and beat you up until you say yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I said it's either yes. You have to have the mindset that this is an opportunity that's going to end with either a yes or not now.
Makes sense.
It's never no, because time brings about a change.
Yep.
We may end that way. I might say, hey, look, Josh, based on what you share with me today, it looks like we're not going to be able to work together. And obviously I'm a little disappointed, but hey, when do you think we should revisit this conversation in the future? You tell me, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. I want to put you on my calendar because I really enjoyed the time I spent with you today. What do you think?
That makes sense.
In other words, you and I are going to agree when we're going to revisit this again, because sometimes it's not now. And I'm okay with that. I wrote another tip that was titled, Don't Be a Sore Loser, because I think another perception is if I don't go along with what you're selling me, you're going to turn into this
monster.
Yeah, the monster. And I don't want that. That's why I don't tell you I don't want to buy. I just say, hey, can I just think about this?
Right.
I want to let you down easy.
Right. It's like the bad relationship. It's not you, it's me.
It's me, yeah.
No, totally makes sense.
Don't get mad at me because I'm not buying today, please.
I don't want to go out in the parking lot and find 4 flat tires.
Because you're a nice person right now. What's going to happen when I tell you no? So instead of telling you that, I'm going to say, let me think about it.
Right. I'll let you down easy.
Yeah, I'll let you down easy. And I hope you go away.
Right. No, 100%. That's funny. If someone was going to start a career in sales or is thinking about starting a career in sales, what advice would you give them?
I think, first of all, being in sales, I think, is one of the best careers you can ever be in, because you said it earlier, nothing happens unless somebody sells something. I think people realize that everything's a sale. I volunteer my time for the Hudson Job Search, and I let those group of people that are in transition, this is the biggest sale you ever made. You're ever going to make. It's yourself. You're selling yourself in this interview, and I remind people that think about when you wanted to use the car for the first time. That was a sale.
Yes, it
You were
was.
selling somebody on, please let me use the car. And you sold them, and they finally gave in.
They finally gave.
And gave you the keys. And you walked out and went, yeah.
Definitely.
I made that sale.
Yeah.
Oh, you wanted to go. Remember in school they have those little things where the class was going off on a trip, and
Oh, yeah.
you didn't have the money.
Right.
You had to get the money from mom. So
Yep.
you had to sell mom on the idea of
100%.
Yeah. So it's all a sale. But I think the degree is, if someone's looking at getting sales, and I do work with companies that are doing interviews, and one of the first questions I ask them is, why sales? And if they come back and say, well, I feel I'm a good talker, well, this is not the industry for you then, right? Because sales is not for everybody, just like being a doctor. This is a profession.
Yep.
And I want people to know that there's things that you have to learn, and are you willing to go to that extent to educate yourself and learn it? Now, you're not going to get a degree from Harvard or, and a doctorate, but it's still the same thing. I tell people all the time, I feel like I got my MBA from J.B. Robinson Jewelers, because they really believed in training and developing people. Remember, you heard the expression, is a salesperson born or is it made? I think it's a combination of both.
Sure.
I think there's some things that you really have to have, but you can be trained, to be a very effective in this profession.
What's one question you wish you were asked more often about sales?
Oh. You may have me there. That's why this is called Pedal Stomper. Is this the Stomper?
There are no softballs in here. There are no softballs in here.
Oh, just the Stomper here. So you're asking me, what's one question? What again?
What's one question you wish people asked you more often about sales?
I think it goes back to if people would ask, how do I become one of the best at sales? And it's really what I drilled into the heads of about 6 people this morning. Guys, ladies, you have to be better at listening. So it's really a combination of asking and listening and asking. You're doing those two things in tandem so you can provide a customized solution. I've always been taught you never get the first response you usually need to start talking. It's usually the drill down questions you ask that provides the additional information that you need to provide that solution. So people need to ask more of, what do I need to do to be better at what I'm doing? And you never reach there. You continue to polish and hone and get better at this. That's why I like doing the training, because even today, the topic was, what's the difference between an objection and a complaint? And I went, wow, nobody's ever asked me
Interesting.
that. Because we talk about overcoming customer objections.
Right.
But sometimes what we talked about today is, sometimes it's not an objection. Sometimes it's a complaint.
Sure.
The customer says, man, this price is kind of high. But that doesn't mean your price is too high. Maybe they're complaining about the price they have to pay.
Sure.
So what you want to be able to do is determine, which one is it? Is it a complaint or is it an objection? Well, you're only going to find out is if you go back to the basic principle of what? Asking.
Yeah.
There's an old adage that says, I like this saying, Josh. It says, smart people know what to say. Because just because you're smart doesn't mean you're going to be good in sales. Because usually when you're smart, all you're going to do is provide an information dump about how smart you are.
Sure.
So the saying says, smart people know what to say, but wise people know when it should be said. So you need to be, if you're going to be good in this profession, you need to be both smart and wise. Smart and wise. You just can't be smart. Smart's not good enough.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
To me, that seems like an amazing place to leave off. Marvin, I really appreciate you taking the time and coming in today. This has been awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome.
You got my motor running.
Good. For all of you out there, to me, once again, sales is everywhere. It's in everything. And what I find so interesting about our conversation today is Marvin talked a lot about preparation, which is what we talk about a lot in podcasting. Asking the right questions, showing up and making sure that you are ready. That being said, make sure that you take care of yourself. And if you can, take care of someone else too. I will see you soon.